Lindu pena da yara dalaya sem sechidu teni mayingba chini korangla ngosuni te telaya ko hanso gore tosi sem mikti pena dale na amni nyengora ko nyeng duzana amju di thobana dadi thobana te da korangla sem semche teni te ondu yang ko dadi sem de du pas langsung pas persona dan langsung yang ko dakran la pas senje yang de bores teleji ini draje yang de main ula orang tu jinggup se gitu di manggo ye pena ya jibul tena sentena digre yana ma tamdu jan sentena digre yana ya da ma nigar tena sentena digre kira choice digre damga chen digre megaji cikcibu matang semla sendila sinci matang yang matang itu kok cikcibu sem yang kasih ya sem ya lendu janden ya sem dila sem sinci kok tanggal yang kasih ki mangbu cina ya sem ya nang matang na sem dila ne ya tang na ya tu ya dila sem ne tadi cingen yores di cina de kasih kiranzu pena chue chigen rawo ina ni tene kiranzu senki nanglo la mantra tene dangche yang dila yang sen tene tegen tene yores dala teba tangche ugla teba tangi tene che kiranzu senki nanglo la nga dangche nga tela senpa tena yang digire di mayin so na ingji kurang senje tangche pa tunga da draya ki lo tala tene yang sen leche And there
are many ways that we can train in being mindful throughout the day. We can train by focusing on sound. That's one way of training our mindfulness. Just focusing on a sound and trying to keep your mind on that sound, and whenever it strays from the sound, whenever you're no longer focused on the sound, you bring it back to that sound, and that's all. That's the exercise. Or some people focus on the breath, so you can focus just on the in-breath, or you can focus just on the out-breath, or you can focus on both. There's many different ways. People practice all of these ways. Some people only focus on the out-breath. Some people only focus on the in-breath. Some people focus on the in-breath, and then the time when the breath remains inside, and then also on the out-breath. That's another method. Another method for those who perhaps practice Dharma is to focus on the mantra that you repeat mentally in your mind. So you can just focus on this mental repetition of a mantra. These are just 3 methods. They're all different methods that we can use to cultivate mindfulness. Or we can focus on compassion. That's another object of focus that we can take just to cultivate this type of mindfulness. All of these are just different methods we use to train the mind.
Lega mantra teni chi nami chesa mantra du ten around sembati khaduina chi nyomomba pe jebel ta chet maru pel che teni chi around zimba in shu chembo chongaya da teni around je da pena lung pena tenzo ya to chi shedang ina pe cheche dwe da teni around pena timuk se ora aja se ota thado se de nyemo ba chama pen message cheru cha che tene ji chowa nanglo la pena ji ki nang penju chowa keme na re tene ji la ji khan se gore ji thoba ma bo yong ya da tene ngara su ji dang ge chesal di thumba to pena down in are te mi chi la dingsa chi ke sem sambo gi thong ne ji ga gema shwe dan khadi na ji grading che do dan den de me wa che mo na bo den ro ya do dan ji sai de sa na pe shin bu sa ga du ge re ne sama ji ma ji bu na wa da ji ji lo den de jin de ge ma bo cha den ja che sa la den ji ge zamling na lo la tho ba ma bo den shi de ma me wa cha de sama de nyo mo ba de den ji phe che ti ge pa ma bo do che den ma ji bo cha da du ma bo yong ai de sama kim se tel de ni sa re.
These days in our lives, we just have so much work, so much distractions, that we're not able to work with our minds. And when you don't work with your mind, your negative emotions just grow and develop and multiply. So we're very attached, we're very clingy. A lot of us have anger issues, stress problems, or there's some people who have a lot of pride. Some people who are very kind of unaware, careless, ignorant. All of these things are negative emotions that increase as we don't pay attention to our minds. And these types of negative emotions are what create all our problems. Fight within the family, between husband and wife, problems within your town, within your city. Nowadays, it's quite rare that everyone kind of smiles at each other in the street and greets each other. Most people kind of scowl and scowl their way through life. You may be sitting at a restaurant where everyone's eating really nice food, and yet they don't look happy. They're all kind of like, scowling at each other. And this is what creates all the conflict, all the infighting, the trouble that we perceive in the world. This is what takes away our peace. All of this is created actually by negative emotions. And if we let these negative emotions run wild, then it will be very difficult for us to get any kind of happiness in our lives. In fact, it will just create suffering.
Di do tanda pena zimba trawojila peshana pena lakbala chike titaw che nombo to charma tawoji indigenous sim dena ede shukchumbo sim dena teko mijige ende tensona lagado guras lago masu guras dena shin zimba ya marazo tensa so anala zimba shukchumbo dena je sim de di rala ya che kaso gore 대당 대오세오라 기부 대당 바 동아라 쇼라기 금세 빼는 것도 좀 심되는 태잖아 고 자지결하고 마스고라 다디 가르치고서는 미지기 태소나 된디 바 땅버스 또 땅잖아 고 라고 마스에네 바 말아 탑송로 가르서는 고 수고 말아 된도신 다 레고세디 게좀 버스 된 짐바 빼슈 좀더 심되나요 되니
So if we just take attachment or clinging as an example, if you cling to something very tightly, it's like holding a knife really tight in your hand. If you're holding a knife in your hand, a sharp knife in your hand really tightly, then if someone tries to take it away, it'll cut your hand, right? So this type of clinging is how we lose all our happiness and well-being to pain and suffering. Because just as in this example, if you cling, you get hurt when it gets taken away, right? What do you have to do? You need to let go. If you're holding a knife and someone wants to take it, you need to let go, and then they can take it without hurting you, right? So letting go is extremely important. And yet, generally speaking, our minds are so very attached, so very clingy.
Dindu data di tangi gomja du pena ta mambo jidwa di ta mambo di changma pena ninje gomna re pena ugla sente na re yana dala sente na re di te gumje ne gare resna din yo momba tangi shedang tena shedang chenpo je lang so na lamsang shedang la pa sem ma te wa chi su da la pa sem te yana u la sem te yana ni chi kha so ko chi ki ngo bo chi sha pembo da chi sha do de la sem pa te no na te ko shedang la pa la ro ko khadu shedang la so na yana ko zimba shik chumbo ji dang da shi ende sem zimba be chumbo ji le so na pa zimba la sem ma de wa chi lamsang u la do pas sem tadi nge lai ba temba lamsa ma yong ji sem de la de kha zo u la sem de ya ji pe na jealousy do de lep so na ya lamsa ko de la ma de wa chi ya u la sem de ya na dal la de ya na ni chi mo bo chi la sem de chi de chi so na ni kom shi di pa di ya ga kom shi di ara ta wa ya ga kom shi di phel du re di ki ngara zo de wa ti re de ni chi dugu papena dunga te gyuji yora nyomomba tenzo sama teni jenyong nyoro chayang kores teni chazo na ngarazo mese nanglo la teni chik chowa nanglo la dekhi di khanso wara yakho chiyong kores.
So this is what we use all these meditation methods for. It's to loosen that clinging. Right? That's why we practice by focusing on compassion or focusing on the breath or focusing on the sound. The way this works is that while you're meditating, if an emotion comes up, a strong emotion such as anger, let's say, well, when that anger comes up, instead of going after that anger and grasping onto that anger, you just, with mindfulness, you bring your attention back to your object of focus, whether it's your breath, or sound, or perhaps you have an object in front, a visual object that you're focusing on. So whatever your object of focus is, whenever something comes up in your mind, you just direct your mind back towards the object of focus. So instead of just following after that anger, latching onto it, you just bring your mind back to your breath, for example. Or instead of latching onto that jealous thought that comes into your mind, you bring your mind back to the sound or the image that you're focusing on. And so this is what I mean when I was talking about mindfulness before. This is the type of mindfulness, being mindful of the object of focus towards you bring back your attention. And this is how we create a habit, a better habit. These are just training methods to create a better habit, to kind of diminish that clinging within our minds, so that these negative emotions that create so much suffering for us have less sway, so that they have less control, less power over us. And this will definitely make your life easier and happier.